Tell me one reason why you think Bitcoin is really important.
You have the unsustainable money printing that exists, the fiat debt cycle that's going to come to an end over the next few years. You also have all these people around the world who don't have access to basic financial tools, who aren't within walking distance of a bank, maybe don't have good transportation. And for the first time with Bitcoin, you have the ability to supply financial tools, a savings technology, a money to those people in remote areas and underdeveloped communities.
I believe that all freedom is underpinned by the freedom to transact. There was an announcement of Trump coming to speak at the conference, and I've been making the case to several people I've been talking to. I think it's maybe the largest and most culturally relevant events in the world maybe right now. I speak at events all over. I'm at Freedom Fest right now. There's thousands of people, not tens of thousands of people.
You know, what I can tell you and what I can promise you is that Bitcoiners are some of the most impressive people you'll ever meet. Bitcoiners are people who recognize the problems in society before everyone else and recognize the solution to a lot of those problems. And so, you know, these people that are building Bitcoin companies, that are educating in the Bitcoin space, that are, you know, digging deep and building networks, building relationships, actively engaged in Bitcoin, some of the most incredible people in the world, to be honest.
Now, you said there was 50 to 75 million people that own it in the United States. Is that right? Where does that number come from? That sounds like a massive number. Oh, hey, Brandon. Here we are. Thanks for jumping on last minute to talk to me. I'm super excited about it. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mark. Great to be here.
So, Brandon, you are responsible for, one of the few people responsible for putting on a massive event, and a massive event that I've actually been calling over the last couple of days. I'm right now, I'm at the Freedom Fest in Las Vegas. I'm speaking here because, of course, who doesn't love freedom, especially around the Bitcoin space. But there was an announcement of Trump coming to speak at the conference, and I've been making the case to several people I've been talking to that I think the Bitcoin conference, it's not just about Bitcoin. I mean, obviously it is, but I think it's maybe the largest and most culturally relevant events in the world maybe right now. I don't know how many people are going to be there this year. I know we've seen 15 to 25,000 over the last couple of years, but I speak at events all over. I'm at Freedom Fest right now. There's thousands of people, not tens of thousands of people. And there's people from the highest level of politics, to the highest level of Wall Street, to the highest level of fintech, to engineers, coders, entertainers. I mean, you name it. Do you think it is one of the largest, most culturally relevant events going on?
Well, I mean, of course, you're speaking my language, Mark. You know, we've seen it follows the course of Bitcoin, right? So as Bitcoin continues to grow more and more relevant, so too does the Bitcoin conference. And you know, in 2022, I believe we were the largest finance conference in the world. We were the largest math conference in the world, like we like to say. You know, Bitcoin is really taking over the mind share of a large swath of the global population. And that's just, you know, further proves the fact that we're on the path of hyperbitcoinization. We're on the path where eventually every single person in the world will use Bitcoin in their daily lives. And so, you know, we try and be that vehicle to help spread awareness, spread adoption, teach people the basics, and sometimes teach people the more advanced stuff as well, you know, from the developer standpoint. So, you know, we're really trying to cover all the bases, and we're really lucky to be part of kind of truly the power that is Bitcoin.
But do you think, I mean, back to just, like I said, I think it's bigger than Bitcoin, right? It's culturally relevant. And so like you have this like transcendence, right? It's where like, you know, Bitcoin was this whatever magic internet money or whatever, right? There's money for nerds or, you know, whatever, pixie dust, whatever you want to call it, you know, whatever, a decade ago. But then there's like this transcendence where, well, if Bitcoin is sort of like money, which I think might even still be too small for it, you know, technology, money, but then it transcends because it intersects every single area of our life. So back to politics and back to entertainment, like money touches all of that. So, I mean, I guess is that how you're seeing it? Like you're transcending and you're starting to bring in people from multiple disciplines and multiple facets of life where it all intersects as opposed to just being about like, you know, money, finance, et cetera?
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, I think that you're talking about the end game of what our conference can be. Money touches everything. Money transcends money itself, right? And so, what's cool about Bitcoin is that there's a certain set of ideological underpinnings that really have propelled its adoption. And I think that that's where you're seeing a huge overlap and a huge sort of pulling in of other networks, of other groups, of other people. And so that it's really exciting for us, and it's something we actively try to do, right? We want to pull as many people into the Bitcoin conversation as we can. It's no secret. We treat the Bitcoin conference as a vehicle for Bitcoin adoption in and of itself. And so we want to get people who are maybe not as closely associated with Bitcoin, not as closely associated with the Bitcoin community, to come speak. Because, yeah, maybe they don't have the deepest, most thoughtful expertise, but they bring an audience with them, and they learn along the way. And we actually take them further on their journey by being part of our event. And so absolutely, you're seeing that, of course, in this year's event, but you've seen it in previous year's events too.
Yeah. I mean, every year it just gets bigger, 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 and the guests come from wider areas of the world. And this year, drum roll please, we have President Trump coming to speak. I mean, this is massive news. I've seen David Bailey talking about working with the Trump administration. I think it started maybe around mining specifically at some point. Last year we had Vivek Ramaswamy at the conference, and of course, I think he really got into Trump's ear, maybe, I don't really know, but it seems like maybe he got into Trump's ear and sort of turned that. But here we have Trump coming to speak at the conference. So you have sort of maybe the biggest name. We're going into a presidential election year, President Trump. We had RFK Jr. as well coming to speak. Maybe you can talk about how that transpired, because maybe a lot of people remember where maybe a couple years ago Trump wasn't a fan of Bitcoin. And here now he's kind of seemingly kind of completely changed his opinion and now coming to speak at the event. So do you have any insight of how that came to be?
Yeah, well, I can't tell you all the details, but what I can tell you is we came to him and his campaign with a pretty simple pitch. And that was, Bitcoin is $1 trillion asset class. And there are roughly 50 to 75 million Bitcoiners in the United States. And so that's people that are going to vote their pocketbook. That's people that are going to want to see the asset that they've purchased appreciate, and certainly not see it get shipped overseas and regulated out of the United States. And so, you've kind of, Trump, you've been gifted a silver platter. Your opponent is actively harming the industry, and the industry has no other place to turn than to President Trump to see if he can actually come in and be a counterpoint. And so, we fully believe that this Bitcoiner audience can deliver a substantial number of votes in the election if he were to come out, strongly in favor of Bitcoin. And, come to find out, he is familiar with some of the issues that we've been raising with him since we've been working with him, and this is actually, this is going to be a very, I think, productive activity. It's not just going to stop at a conference speech. It's going to extend far beyond that. So it's very exciting.
Yeah. It's pretty interesting. I thought once we saw Trump come and endorse Bitcoin, and would Biden have to then also embrace it, or does he have to take the other side of the aisle? And it would be interesting to see how that would play out. I thought, well, he doesn't have to take the other side, right? Biden. He could try to do it better, right? But it seems like at this point he is trying to stay on the other side of the aisle. Is that your opinion?
I don't get the sense that Biden is particularly engaged on the topic. It seems to me that he has very much deferred leadership on the issue to the Warren wing of the Democratic Party, and they have been setting the priorities and the talking points and the regulatory sort of goals. And so, I will say it was interesting to see this Fit 21 bill go down the pipe and get vetoed. I believe there's two different ones. I think it was Fit that got vetoed by President Biden. And that was a pretty strong signal that he has not softened his stance on the industry. He's not interested in kind of working with the industry on positive regulation, as far as I can tell. And so, I don't think, truthfully, I don't think he's forced to take the other side on this issue. I think that he was the other side of the issue already, and Trump saw the opportunity to take the pro Bitcoin side. And so, that's what. That's kind of the beauty of the political system in a way. It's like, everyone's building coalitions, and I think Trump or Biden made a massive mistake in undervaluing the Bitcoiner coalition.
Yeah, it appears that way. Now, you said there was 50 to 75 million people that own it in the United States?
Yeah, so there is
right? Where does that number come from? That sounds like a massive number.
There have been quite a few studies trying to figure out what the number is. I want to say it was a Kraken or Coinbase, or maybe it was a combined study between the two of them that arrived at around a $50 million person number. That was, though, that was 2023, and it was before the Bitcoin ETFs launched. And so, it's hard to put a number on how many people have now gained exposure through the Bitcoin ETFs. And certainly when you look at some of these pension funds that are starting to dip their toes in, there was the Wisconsin pension fund, right, that did it not too long ago. That's a lot of people whose retirement funds are now exposed to Bitcoin. And they may not even realize that they're Bitcoiners, but we're growing the number of Bitcoiners in the United States very quickly. So, yeah, I would say we're in the 50 to 75 million range now. 50 is absolutely the floor. I know it's definitely more than 50. And so, until there's actually another study done that really sees how many, it's kind of in that gray area above 50, probably less than 75.
Yeah. We may never know, and certainly to the point that you made, there's a lot of people that own it now that they don't even know. So that's pretty interesting. So obviously we have President Trump coming. That's huge news. I think a lot of politicians will be there, and then we have some other people from outside politics. So what are some of the other big names that we have coming?
Yeah, so we've got like Russell Brand, who we announced a couple weeks ago. Very excited for him. He's got a large following, famous movie star, a little bit of a, let's say, controversial figure, but someone who's been kind of going on his own intellectual path with his audience through the past couple of years, and excited to see him.
How did that come about? Because I think a lot of people in the Bitcoin space, and maybe just overall, have seen kind of the shift in his content over the last couple of years, and everybody thinks, oh man, he needs to be a Bitcoiner, he needs to understand Bitcoin better, things like that. So I'm curious how that kind of came about.
Yeah, it actually came about through some of our conversations with Rumble, which was a really cool conversation. I mean, Rumble's building a pretty amazing platform. They have some pretty awesome creators on there. And, we kind of brought the same sentiment everyone's been talking about. Russell Brand, he's like a great Bitcoiner who doesn't know he's a Bitcoiner yet. What would it take to get him to the Bitcoin conference? And let's talk to him about it. And so we made it, thanks to Rumble, we made it happen. And I'm super excited to meet him. And hopefully we can kind of push him down the rabbit hole, let's say. And next thing you know, he'll be all in on Bitcoin.
Yeah. Well, he should be, because, I mean, obviously what happened to him with you mentioned controversy that he got caught up in, some allegations from a long time ago, but specifically he was demonetized. So they took away his ability to earn, and I think there was a letter from some regulatory body in the UK that went to Rumble, I believe, that said, hey, the thing we're most concerned about is his ability to still make money. They hit him right there, and so I mean, shoot, that kind of highlights the exact need why you might want Bitcoin. So he should be living this. Exactly.
So if he hasn't already connected the pieces privately, he's going to connect them in the next 2 weeks. I can tell you that. So that should be fun. And then outside of that, we've got other great Bitcoiners: Ed Snowden. We've got Bill Miller. We've got a handful of political folks from Senator Lummis, Senators Haggerty and Marsha Blackburn. We've got Vivek, like you mentioned, RFK, of course. I mean, not to undercount the fact that there are two presidential candidates at this event. And, RFK is in an interesting spot right now with kind of the question marks around the Democratic Party and who's going to be their nominee. He could become a much even more influential force in this upcoming election. So, there's quite a bit to kind of parse through when you look through the speaker, sheet. And I can tell you that I've been having conversations over the past couple of days, and we're not done adding to it yet. There's some
Oh,
pretty
really?
crazy FOMO happening.
All right, I want to take a break just real quick and say that, as we're talking about Bitcoin and digital assets, the question really comes down to, like, are you tired of the global elites robbing you blind through, all this money printing that's happening? And if so, then you need to be holding your wealth outside of that. And more importantly, you should be coming to the Bitcoin conference in Nashville. The 2024 conference is happening July 25th through 27th. It's the largest Bitcoin, the largest fintech conference in the world. I've been going every single year. It's an amazing event, and Bitcoin 2024 really stands as a beacon of monetary freedom. If you care about that, if you care about freedom, all freedom sits at the freedom to transact. And really the darkening macroeconomic backdrop that's happening needs the Bitcoin more than ever. Now, there's going to be top speakers there, companies, thought leaders from across the industry. They're all going to be in Nashville looking ahead for the future. And I'm going to be there. Lots of other people, my friends, are going to be there. And ticket prices keep going up. So the longer you wait, the more you're going to pay. But I don't want that to happen to you. I'd love for you to come hang out, meet me, hang out with me and all the other speakers there. And you can save 10% on your ticket by using code MarkMoss at checkout. So get your tickets now. Like I said, the prices just keep going up. Use MarkMoss at checkout to save 10% on your tickets, and hit me up. Let me know if you're coming, so I want to meet you. And also, while we're talking about Bitcoin, we're talking about laws being changed to basically guarantee your rights of self-custody. The whole piece about Bitcoin that's so revolutionary is that we can custody our own digital asset. And so you should certainly do that. But how? I've been using this device. It's called a Trezor hardware wallet. I've been using it for about 7-8 years now. It's been my go-to device. Basically, it's a little hardware device like this that holds your private key, and you plug it into your computer when you want to send a transaction. I like Trezor because it's open source, unlike some of the security flaws you've seen in other devices. I don't want to name them right now, but it's open source, so you know that it's safe. It's the easiest to use, which I have used it forever. They have new devices that make it much easier than ever before. There's no excuse for you not to secure your own Bitcoin with a Trezor hardware wallet or something else like that. And more importantly, when you're holding your Trezor hardware wallet or any hardware wallet for that matter, you need to back up your private keys. Now, you want to make sure that you back up your private keys and put them somewhere they don't get destroyed. And they've come out with this new device where I can put my private key on this metal device that could withstand fire, flood, or war, whatever it may be. So check out Trezor, what they're doing. You can save 10% on these things by using code MarkMoss. But either way, make sure you secure your own Bitcoin.
Wow. Okay, good. And I believe Tulsi Gabbard's coming back, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
that's big. I'm curious your take if you have an opinion on this. I've been asking this around this last couple of days here at the Freedom Fest. Do you think RFK takes more votes from the Republican side or from the Democrat side?
I think both sides think that he takes more votes from their side. So
Okay.
I'll put it that way. Like, I think that
Both sides are equally afraid.
yeah, exactly. And the reality is, and what's interesting about RFK is he's independent, but he's also a different cross section of the United States, the U.S. population than I think anyone has taken. He is very pro Bitcoin, but he's also a very progressive person in a lot of his issues, and yet he has these libertarian bents that he weaves throughout his policies. So I think he's like a very much a wild card in this race, and I'm very excited to see how his path kind of winds through the next few months, because he could be a major force even beyond the election. Let's take the hypothetical where Trump wins, but RFK comes in second place, because the Democratic nominee is contested or unknown, or a new person who gets thrown in last minute, or it's Biden but people don't believe in him. There's a world in which RFK then kind of comes back to the Democratic Party and shapes the future of that party. So, it's not like this story just ends in November, and I'm very interested to see how it plays out, because, that party has some real issues.
I was talking to Congressman Thomas Massey yesterday. He's here at this event, at the Freedom Fest. And he asked me a question that we might hear, me and you might hear quite a bit, which is like, explain Bitcoin to me like I'm 5 years old and in like 2 minutes, which is sort of impossible. But Massey asked me, Tell me one reason why you think Bitcoin is really important. And it's like, wow, that's really hard to distill it down. I'm curious your answer to that. What would your answer be to that?
I'll give you two reasons.
Okay, give me two reasons.
Okay, so on the one hand, you have the unsustainable money printing that exists, the fiat debt cycle that's going to come to an end over the next few years. The U.S. deficit that's almost at 35 trillion. I saw Gladstein say, 35 trill at conference day, right? So that's going to unwind somehow, and it's not going to be good for the people holding U.S. dollars. On the other hand, completely different, you also have all these people around the world who don't have access to basic financial tools, who aren't within walking distance of a bank, maybe don't have good transportation, maybe all they have is a cell phone and a Wi-Fi signal. And for the first time with Bitcoin, you have the ability to supply financial tools, a savings technology, a money to those people in remote areas and underdeveloped communities to be able to use money in their everyday lives. I mean, that's a huge unlocking of value for the world if we can get Bitcoin in these people's hands. So, those are two massive reasons why I think Bitcoin is super valuable in this moment.
Yeah, those are both great answers. The second one specifically, and it's one that you don't hear much. I mean, most people just really have sort of this selfish worldview or local worldview even, where like, I'm in the United States, I don't understand why it's important, without really thinking about, maybe they haven't traveled, but how the rest of the world operates, right? I mean, we have approximately 1.5 billion adults today who have no access to the financial system. They were born in a country with sanctions, they had to flee their country, they don't have the right documents, maybe just they can't even afford a bank account. And so you sort of have this entire disenfranchised group, and that's not a small group, 1.5 billion people in the world, or adults in the world today. And when you think about it, not only are they not able to get on the financial system, the point that you made, that's a whole lot of value that could be unlocked, because if we could bring them into the financial system, then they could start creating, they could start producing, and they could start contributing, and the amount of, to the word you used, value that could be unlocked for the world would be massive. So I love that point. That was good. I said, because we're at Freedom Fest, I just said that I believe that all freedom is underpinned by the freedom to transact.
Absolutely.
We're guaranteed a freedom of assembly, but we can't assemble if I can't put gas in my truck or get food when I get there, and I can't get freedom of speech if I can't pay for a laptop or get on the internet. And so really the ability to transact sits under the base of that. So we can go on for hours just talking about all the different things, but
well, yeah, and to that point, in RFK's speech at Bitcoin 2023, he said the same thing, which was one of those clear signals that he does get Bitcoin. He fundamentally does get Bitcoin. But he said that after watching the Hong Kong Hodl trucker riot in Canada, that he realized in that moment that all freedoms that we try and guarantee as a human species are underpinned by the freedom to transact. And it all comes back to that. So absolutely, I think it's huge.
Yeah. Now, I've been seeing, it seems like I'm seeing, and it's maybe what I'm just recognizing, but there's been this, I think, pendulum swinging where we had sort of like the lockdowns, everybody started working from home, everybody's watching things online, and it seems like there's like this pendulum swinging back to like real connectivity where people want to get out, want to go to events. I think they should. I pounded the table on this quite a bit. I'm curious, are you seeing this year being bigger? Do you think people are wanting to come connect? And then second part of that question would be, why should people want to come to this event?
Yeah, great couple of questions. So to answer the first one quickly, yeah, absolutely, this is going to be bigger. 2023, we probably had 15,000 at the event. We'll blow that out of the water this year. So certainly having the former and future president helps, but yeah, it's going to be a huge event. To your second question of why is it so important to kind of be there? I think it's a lot of what you say, like. We're out here living life, right? You're building a life and a story for yourself, and it's about the experiences that you can load into the short amount of time you have. And you can't take much with you when you go, but you can always take the memories, you can always take the experiences, you can always leave a legacy. And so being able to be part of something as big as Bitcoin, being able to help Bitcoin succeed, being able to go to where the platforms are being built and where adoption is taking place. You know, I don't think that there are many better opportunities in the world right now than to try and dig in and help Bitcoin succeed. So I think it's super important to go, even if you're not coming to the Bitcoin conference, which you should, because we're going to make history there. But even if you're not, make sure that you're going to local meetups. Make sure you're just convening with people in the world around you who hold similar values or challenge your beliefs or make you stronger and more intellectual. Like it's so important to just exist and be present in the world. And I think that it's one of those trends that are probably one of the most alarming trends we have today, outside of our debt, like I talked about, is the fact that more and more we tend to self-isolate. We tend to go into our phones. We tend to kind of shrink our world around us to what's within almost arm's length. And there's so much to explore, and certainly Bitcoin has so much to explore. So it's important to be there, and there's not going to be a better time to go to the Bitcoin conference than this year.
Or maybe if it was like when Nashville was a little bit cooler, but we'll put that on the side.
Hey, well, let me say, July is when Nashville shines. I don't know if you've ever been to Nashville in July. It's when CMA Fest is. The 4th of July is you can't go to a better 4th of July in Nashville. It's something about like the summer air, some cowboy boots, go to a honky tonk, go to the lake. Nashville is so much fun in the month of July. I'm born and raised there, so I know. I'm speaking from experience. I'm very biased, but I'm speaking from experience.
Yeah.
You want to go to Nashville in the summer, and so I'm really excited that we're there at this time because everyone's going to go. They're going to have an absolute ball, and it'll be a little hot. But we got air conditioning down in the South. It's not just like you're out there sweltering. Don't worry.
Yeah. I want to go back to something that you said earlier about why people should come to these events. And you mentioned values. And I think for me, that's probably the biggest one. And unfortunately, for most people, even including myself, you may not have the best network around where you live, right? You might find yourself maybe disconnected in conversations, talking to normies that maybe they don't see the world the way you do. And I think we've been fed this big lie, or they're trying to feed us this lie that we align on identities and sex and race and gender or whatever this is. But what I found, and it really hit me, I think it was the first year in Miami, 2021, you feel this almost like electricity in the air. You just feel this charge, this high vibration that's going on. And it's because you have all of these people in one place that are not aligned on identities, they're aligned on values. So you got different races and sexes and all these different things going on there, but they all share this core value. And then on the value scale, you have different levels of values. And I think, freedom above everything is that highest level value. And so, getting there, being in that environment, feeling that charge, staying motivated, getting remotivated, and then even more importantly, you mentioned building a network and building a legacy, but finding new people, building new relationships, maybe just being able to release and talk about subjects you want to talk about that maybe you're not normally able to. But that's one reason why I love it. I live in Southern California. We have plenty of people, but not plenty of people that I can identify with. And so for me, I travel, I go to an event like that, and being able to connect with those people, I mean, that's everything. So that's probably what I would say. I'd recommend most people to get out there and check it out.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's about, life's about the people you meet, the relationships you make. And so, what I can tell you and what I can promise you is that Bitcoiners are some of the most impressive people you'll ever meet. Bitcoiners are people who recognize the problems in society before everyone else and recognize the solution to a lot of those problems and did something about it. And so, these people that are building Bitcoin companies, that are educating in the Bitcoin space, that are, digging deep and building networks, building relationships, actively engaged in Bitcoin, some of the most incredible people in the world, to be honest. So absolutely, it's worth it to come meet these people. It's worth it to truly learn about Bitcoin from the people who are helping build it. There is no alternative.
Well, is there anything else that you want to talk about or let us know that we should be looking forward to, or why we should be coming?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say that this year has been a pretty wild year for Bitcoin already. We're we're only halfway through, and we've already had ETFs come through, tons of major financial institutions get on board. The former president of the United States get on board. I mean, it's crazy the trajectory that we've been on so far, and it's only going to accelerate as we go through the second half of the year. And so, we're in a new cycle. A new cycle for Bitcoin means new narratives, new heroes, new villains, new people that are going to come through and leave their mark on the community and on the technology. And so it's definitely a really good time, if you haven't been paying attention before, to dig in, start learning about it. Of course the price is going to go up because it's a new cycle and all of those things. I don't care about that, right? It's about the fact that we're changing the world. And if you want to learn how the world is changing, if you want to understand where the puck is going, then you need to be paying attention. You need to be paying attention deeply. So I'm very excited for what we have in store for Nashville in a couple weeks, and I can't wait to see you there, man.
Yeah, I'm super excited. Like I said, it's sort of that recharge, if you will, that sort of recharges you and kind of propels you moving forward. And like I said, it's probably the most culturally relevant, important event that we have in the world today. So it's like, why wouldn't you be there? Of course, I'm going to be there. So I'm looking forward to that, and hopefully everybody here listening is going to get out there as well. I know you guys kind of do this thing where you kind of keep raising ticket prices. I think I saw tickets are continuing to go up again. So get in sooner than later.
Yeah, exactly. Ticket prices go up tonight. And Bitcoiners understand better than anyone number go up. And so we just make sure that we're playing to that understanding. And truly, the inside baseball on that is Bitcoiners and people in general who are going just for, an experience. They're the worst procrastinators there are. And so what we really try and do is the price increase is to get people to go ahead, get off your butts, buy early, buy cheap. We want you to get it way cheaper and buy, 5 months in advance rather than wait to the last minute. But we know how people like to behave. So it's been nuts the past few days. I mean, the ticket sales have been insane. So this is going to be a canvas event. Yeah.
Cool. Well, we're going to link to all that stuff down in the show notes down below. If you'd like to save even more money, I'll have a discount code down there below. You can click on that and use that if you're going to get a ticket. And with that, Brandon, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up, man. I appreciate it. And I'm super looking forward to being out there and seeing you out there.
Mark, likewise. Excited to see you.